Hey everybody, and welcome to Watch Parties here at CCC. We're so excited that you have chosen to pursue Jesus with us. This summer, Watch Parties have looked a little different, and we've been interviewing friends, leaders, and different CCC family members all around the country. And today I'm so excited because we're going to be talking about college ministry. And I actually have two of our college students, Grace and Nicole. They attend our church, CCC, and I'm really excited to just talk with them, hear our conversation together. I also have Victoria Reyes joining us, and as you know, she used to be the advisor of our basic group, and I'm just so excited to get into it. So, hello guys.
Hi.
Just to start off, why don't you guys just tell us about your journey, about your faith, and how you got to where you're at with your faith today?
Yeah, so my name is Grace. I grew up in Wilbraham, Massachusetts, so I'm not local to New York, but I have been going to church for quite a while now. Yeah, I kind of grew up with my family going to church every Sunday, so I'm like familiar with the scene, but like there was a point for sure when like my faith was kind of more my parents, um so I would go to church because they wanted me to, and like I knew it was good for me because they said it was good for me. And so I was always on board with it, but I feel like it wasn't until around high school, first year of college, where like my faith really became my own, and I started to pursue Jesus because like I wanted to, and I just really wanted that relationship with him, for myself. Like I wanted to grow with him, not because my parents said to. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm pursuing Jesus because like that's the life that I want to live. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Nicole, what about you?
So I grew up a little bit differently. I didn't grow up in a typical Christian home. I went to church for a few years when I was young, but kind of like Grace was saying, like I just went because my parents wanted me to go. I didn't really understand the concept because I was so young at the time. And then probably similar to Grace, it was my senior year of high school where I really started to get interested in the faith again. And so I ended up going to a youth group back home in Massachusetts because we're from the same hometown. And I met a lot of really great people there. I started reading the Bible and like really getting into it. And then a few months after that, I ended up getting saved. And so now church is obviously a huge part of my life. But it's really cool to just look back and like see how my faith has grown and how far Jesus has really brought me. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so cool, especially, I mean, I think everyone's faith journey looks so different despite, however you grew up. And I feel like college really influences that. Like you both kind of made that decision, maybe not necessarily in college, but, more of that age of like, hey, I really want this to become my own. I really don't want to like rely on my parents and what they have brought me up in. And like, it becomes a personal choice. So how do you think college has influenced your faith journey into where it is right now?
Well, I think going off to college, like you're not really with your parents anymore. So for me, like I think college has made me step out and say, okay, if I choose, like if I want to go to church, I can. If I don't want to go to church, like no one's going to be there to make me and say like you need to be there on Sundays and stuff. So I thought it was freeing in the way that like my parents weren't really like my family wasn't watching me. Like I could truly like figure out Jesus for myself. And so college really helped with that. I wouldn't say that like all of our college friends were like had the same walk as me or maybe as me and Nicole, but it was cool to like just try new things when it came to church, like be like, hey, you guys want to come, with us on Sundays? And they'd be like, yeah, like why not? And just like try out different things, like test the waters for ourselves. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, college has had a huge impact on my faith because like I said, I did get saved my senior year of high school. So I feel like in college, everyone kind of is figuring themselves out, figuring out what they want to do in their future. And you ask yourself like a lot of really tough questions. And I feel like my faith journey has kind of been like that as well while being in college. I think I've met a lot of different people from a lot of walks of life, and that's helped me just gain like a broader perspective of what the Lord's doing, not only like here in Rochester, but also in other parts of the world. me and Grace's college has like a really large international population. We have a lot of international students. And so being able to just talk with them and see what Christianity in those countries looks like, I feel like is really eye-opening. Because I feel like the American church is really different from churches in other places in the world. And so I feel like just getting that like broad perspective of the Lord has like really opened my eyes on a lot of things and just broadened my perspective overall.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the beauty about being on campus and having that experience really is like you get to meet so many different people, so many people from different backgrounds and even international people. And I think that's such a cool experience, but I know sometimes it could be hard, especially now in our climate, to be a Christian, to be able to be rooted in your beliefs and as you're trying to figure out who you are, what you believe. So what do you guys think it's like to be a Christian on a college campus in 2021?
Questions.
It's a great question.
Well, and to like give a little context, you both go to Roberts, which is
Yes.
traditionally like a Christian school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think we all know it's not what it was back in the day when they intended it to be a Christian school. So like just for people watching, like that's the context as well. So
I feel like being a Christian on a college campus is definitely interesting. I think going into it, I kind of thought that everyone was going to be kind of on the same page with me about like my beliefs and faith and things like that. And once you actually get to college, you realize that a lot of people think a lot of different things. And so that's really interesting because you find yourself in conversations with people that may not be believers. And so that opens up a whole new dynamic, I feel. And I think, you know, having conversations with those people can really strengthen your own faith because you're kind of like defending, you know what I mean, your beliefs. And so that's definitely an experience that I feel like I have had the opportunity to experience. I think it's just hard in general and like the climate and the society we live in now in 2021. Christianity goes against a lot of what society says is okay. And so I think it can be tough feeling confident in spreading the gospel because you know you're just going to get so much backlash. And so I think something that's helped me is just realize that just kind of reinforcing in my mind that the opinion that the Lord has of me is just so much more important than the opinion of other people. And so that's kind of helped me be a little bit more courageous and brave, I think, of idea of what that can look like. Before I always thought, you know, spreading the gospel was like preaching to people and, you know, giving people Bibles and doing all these like big acts. But I feel like at least on my campus, just inviting people to church or just telling them a story about how the Lord has worked in my life. Just small things like that, like being willing to have conversations with people instead of just, you know, blatantly telling them my entire testimony and things like that right off the bat. So I feel like it can be difficult in this society to want to share Jesus with people, but I feel like now more than ever, it's so important that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I walked into college pretty naive, like, because I was like, okay, it's a Christian college, like it's gonna be a whole Christian, like just like you said, Nicole, like everyone's gonna be on the same page. We're all gonna want to go to chapel together. I don't know. I didn't really have any expectations because I came from like a public high school. So I was like, okay, if a school says they're gonna be Christian, like this is their way of life. But like in reality, I mean, a lot of people went for sports, like Roberts is a D2. So like a lot of people are going for like soccer, lacrosse, all these things. So like my expectations definitely weren't correct. And I feel like you have to, like, when you walk into campus, you have to know like the things that you believe and like there's room for learning and stuff like that because it is a whole new environment. But you kind of have to just want it. Like you have to want to keep pursuing Jesus because it's definitely not going to be easy. Like it's pretty like 50-50-ish. Like there's kids that are gonna want to, you know, start these youth like groups to talk about like Bible. I know that there's been a few that like have like a few groups on campus that have wanted to start like Bible studies and things like that. So like you can definitely search out for, like-minded people in that way, but I feel like you would have to want it like in this day and age in 2020, like you have to know that you want to like pursue Jesus in that way and like search for it.
Yeah. So with that, like, this wasn't technically a question, but just bringing up the aspect of community, because community is super important.
Mhm.
And so if you go in with these expectations, like, oh, Roberts is a Christian school, we're all going to be on the same page. Like, was it really difficult to find community for you guys on the campus, at least?
I feel like
I think
you can go. Yeah, you go. I don't really.
no, you can go. You can go.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we found a friend group, like we meshed well with people kind of right off the bat. Like we just met some people that we thought were really cool and like made friends with, but they weren't necessarily like pursuing Jesus, which isn't wrong. Like it's totally okay to be at different points in your life, really. But I think walking in and not having like a specific group of people that, weren't following Jesus, like that was kind of hard. Like because we definitely both wanted that.
Yeah. I think we both might have expected finding people with our same beliefs. Like, I think we expected that to be super easy, being a Christian campus and everything. But I think it's really difficult, because even if someone else calls themselves calls themselves a Christian, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the same views on the Bible as you, or the same views about church as you. And so that can create like a really interesting dynamic as well. Kind of going off what Grace was saying, I think it's really hard going into college and like being so desperate to want to meet people and make friends, because you kind of just want to like latch on to the first people that you meet. I think a lot of people have that experience. And so I think it's really important that college students, when they're going into college, they really are consciously thinking about what kinds of people do I want to surround myself with? Who do I want to become like? And how can my relationships with other people, honor the Lord and bring glory to him? And I think that if I could have gone back, I would have sought out those relationships more. I would have put more effort into finding a group of people that push me to pursue the Lord, and that push me to make wise decisions and things like that. And so I feel like the Lord, especially throughout college, I feel like has put on my heart, and I'm sure other people's heart, that the people you surround yourself with really is so important, and that you have to choose wisely. And I know that can be difficult, being a freshman coming in, not knowing anyone, you just want to be friends with anyone who wants to be friends with you. But it's really important to guard your heart and make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you pursue that relationship with the Lord.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when you go into college, it's kind of like a culture shock too. And so like sometimes you don't really know what you're expecting, especially as a Christian. And I think having community is so important. But I would say, even from my own personal experience, it's so hard to find, because you don't really go into college thinking that's a priority. You kind of go in like wanting to have a new experience in life and make friends. And sometimes it could be kind of like a culture shock. And some people, it could be propelling to their faith, and some people might not do well in that environment. And so what do you guys think would be some key things that cause other Christians to kind of walk away from their faith when they go into college?
I think it's kind of just like you said, like people go to college and it's a whole new environment. Like they're meeting people from all over, like it's new people, new beliefs, like new mindsets that you've just never even experienced before. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think it's very easy to be like, ooh, like there's so much more out there. Like, let me latch onto this. Let me like try this out. And I think it's a good thing to like try new things, like get new experiences. Like they're not all going to be easy, but I think just like we keep saying, just like pursuing Jesus as well. Like it's definitely okay to like have those new experiences and like meet those people, those kinds of people that you've never experienced before. But I think could be the hardest part, like having all of this newness, like a shock, and then just rolling with it and letting it kind of like take you into a different direction.
Yeah, I would say going off of that too, there's just, like Grace was saying, there's so many new things around you that it's really easy to get distracted. As a new college student, you're doing your classes for the first time, you're trying to meet people, you're trying to get involved in your community, you're figuring out what dorm life and stuff is looking like. So there's a lot of different aspects of college that can easily be a distraction to you. And so I think that it's really important to, when you go into college, just remaining true to yourself and remaining true to who you know the Lord has called you to be. So making time for him, even when you're, up until 1 a.m. doing papers and things like that, I feel like it's super important to just prioritize what is important to you. And that can be really hard, especially with all the things going on campus and things like that. But I feel like that is the biggest thing, is just making time for the Lord, even when everything else is going on around you.
Well, the last thing I would want to just talk about is, I think we talk about like generations all the time. We're throwing out boomers, we're throwing out millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, all of it. And I think there's like this new call to like unity between generations. And I think, I mean, from my experience, like young people want to have that unity, want that connection, want that relationship with the older generations. And it seems like the older generation wants that as well. I just don't think they know how to approach young people today or how to approach college students. So in your opinion, like, how do college students want to be connected with? Like, if a person in their 40s, 50s, 60s said, I really love college students, I want to connect with them, like, what would you tell them is the best way to do that?
That's a really good question.
The first thing that kind of came to my mind was like, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but I feel like a connection that every generation can have is just like wanting to be loved and to love like Jesus. Like that can be a common ground for a lot of people. Like this is something that we're actively all like trying to like learn about, like learn how Jesus loved people and also like learn how to be loved by Jesus. So it's like
yeah,
a good, like I feel like a good maybe way to connect with different generations is to start there, like at the core of what we're all trying to pursue, I guess. Yeah,
I feel like too, I feel like for people in older generations, they might look at our generation and be like, oh, like maybe I should contact them through social media and things like that. But I feel like there are a lot of people in our generation who crave that like genuine face-to-face connection. And our generation is just painted as like the technological generation, like we're only on our phones and things like that. But there are a lot of people who wish that we could go back to, like the older days when social media wasn't, that big of a thing. I feel like people in our generation, they lack so many things because they don't get that, like that genuine face-to-face, like personal relationship with people, especially people older than them or more, advanced in their walk and things like that. And so I feel like something so simple, just, reaching out to a younger person, like in person at church, asking them to go out to lunch, asking them to go out to coffee. I feel like that really could go such a long way. Because again, I feel like our generation, community is just so lost. I feel like it's just a concept that isn't as big as it used to be. And I feel like people from older generations would be able to teach us so much about what true healthy relationships are. And so I feel like we could benefit from that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was Elijah and we went to the spa the other weekend, and I was in like the locker room, and there was this older lady, and she came in and she was very sweet. It was like her first time there because she's from out of town, and she had no idea what she was doing, and it was like her like 82nd birthday or something like that. And she just like strikes up a conversation with me, like this 25-year-old person she probably has nothing in common with, but you could totally tell that she was a believer because of the things that she was saying. And she was like, yeah, the Lord has been so faithful in my life and has blessed me so much. And I just feel like even if it's just a small thing of like just a little conversation just to show that you care about the person that you're talking to, like that will go a long way on both sides. I feel like our generation too can be kind of be afraid of like an older person or an older generation, like going up to them in person and actually reaching out. So I feel like it's definitely like, I think both sides are just afraid, and we have to get over that and just kind of reach out to one another to create that connection and that unity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Like going off of that, like finding a common ground, like going out to coffee, just like and like listening to each other's stories, like that goes such a long way, I feel. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the point in the video we go to discussion. So we hope that you and your group have a great time of discussion. The questions will pop up on the screen, and we'll see you back here after. Welcome back. I hope you guys had some great conversation and great discussion at your watch party. If you're watching this alone, I just want to invite you to go to our watch party webpage and maybe sign up to join a watch party with other people. It's nice to be able to watch these on our own time, but it's so much better when we get to do it in community with other people. But thank you again for joining us. Thank you for joining me, Pursuing Jesus Together, here at CCC. We hope to see you this Sunday and maybe at our next watch party.